relentless and ready to prove they're one of the Big 12's best, while UCF, fueled by their home crowd, is looking to shake up the conference. 1 game out of 5th, while UCF is 3 games behind. Again, this is game number 2 of this series between the Cowgirls and the Knights from Orlando. And we are underway as ball 1 delivered to Talon Edwards. Oklahoma State winning the series opener last night, 7-0. Rosie Davis driving in the first run of the game. Cat, all 7 runs last night were scored in the 7th inning by the Cowgirls.
Yeah, Oklahoma State, slow start offensively last night. Did execute and took advantage of errors in the 7th. UCF was able to keep them at bay early, and I think that's the biggest thing Coach Gajewski talked about is they have to be able to make adjustments earlier, get their offense started earlier.
This is a fascinating Oklahoma State team, one that Kenny Gajewski still insists is the most talented he's ever coached. They were picked to win the Big 12, but they have struggled at times in conference play. This one chopped over to second, and that one mishandled by Ray. There have been a number of changes in the field for tonight's contest by UCF. Ray moving over to second tonight and can't handle that one.
Well, Edwards just gets on top of this one, a high chopper. It's going to be a rushed play, but Ray unable to make the transfer. They're going to give Edwards a single on that. I think that could have gone down as an error because she makes that transfer. It's a bang-bang play over there at first.
Edwards limping a little bit, stretching that right leg out. She will stay in there. How about the scouting report on Felton?
As we said, the senior, she's a hard thrower. We talked about her mindset and the fact that she's really able to embrace this role now as a senior, but she will use a lot of a drop ball. She added a rise ball in the off season to be able to create some separation, and she has an off speed that can keep hitters off balance, so she's going to have to execute that off speed against the power that Oklahoma State can possess. But going up in the zone is going to allow her to change the eye level, where most teams were used to her just pounding low in the zone.
Getting ready to face the sophomore Rosie Davis, who is riding a 16-game on-base streak. So we were saying this Oklahoma State team struggled at times in Big 12 play, but they feel like after dropping this series last weekend to Iowa State, they hit a turning point. They held a coaches-only meeting where the staff aired out everything. Kenny Gajewski told us it got emotional at times, it lasted for hours, and he realized he wasn't communicating enough, especially in a positive manner, in his words, with his staff as Rosie Davis delivers the hit. So he said they aired out everything. He felt like a weight was lifted off the team's shoulders because he was putting pressure on himself. It was trickling down to the staff, Cat, the players as well. He said after that meeting, it felt like Fun Kenny was back, in his words. And since that coaches-only meeting, they've outscored their opponents 17-2.
Well, and that's a huge piece of it. Your staff has to be cohesive. And he said there was no bickering between them in front of the team or anything, but he does have 2 former players coaching with him. And when you have that dynamic, they can still, on occasion, feel the pressure of needing to perform for you. And that's what he said. He looked at Shippey and Eberly both and was like, do you feel like you're disappointing me? Because you're absolutely not. And that's when those 2 were able to kind of take a deep breath and be like, okay, we're all right. And he said the whole staff was much better after that, and the team noticed that they were all in better spirits. And that's a big thing. You can tell when your coaches are pressing, and then as athletes you start pressing because you want them to obviously think they're doing a good job. And so it becomes something that everyone's living through. But if you don't verbalize it, it can never get fixed.
And when you've made it to 5 straight Women's College World Series, the pressure year in and year out is immense, but there is a strikeout by Felton, getting Amanda Hasler first out of the night.
This an off-speed drop, and you watched Felton take that low and off the plate. Hasler just way ahead of that one. Nice job expanding the zone by the senior.
Kenny Gajewski did mention leaving runners on base has been an Achilles heel this year. Last night, They did come up with a 7-0 win, but they did leave 8 on and are scoreless heading into the 7th inning. There's the first out again with 2 on. Here's Carly Godwin, who had possibly the greatest freshman season of the Gajewski era last year, and is following it up with another strong year. Hitting .350, leading the team in doubles.
Godwin just continues to be a staple in this lineup, and Kenny Gajewski is known for that. He usually can find 1 or 2 freshmen that can come in and make a lot of noise, and then by the time they're done, coaches in the Big 12 are asking, hadn't you been here for about 6 years? Because they've been making an impact that long.
Godwin 1 for 4 last night. And a look at Felton in the top 10 all-time in program history and innings pitched, surpassing 300 recently. Now delivers strike 1. Hitters count coming up to the cleanup hitter Godwin, as the Cowgirls threatening early. Swing and a miss, strike 2.
That's the off speed. That's absolutely devastating. The speed difference between that and her hard stuff, that's easily 10, 12 miles an hour difference, but it actually floats and it's kind of up in the zone. Godwin thought that one was going to be coming down around the belt, and it stayed up.
And a huge strikeout delivered by Felton. Back-to-back Ks, 2 away.
Felton got the swing and miss on the changeup right before this, and then she goes in tight with speed, drop ball that just Godwin cannot get down to. Good mix of speeds, but really good spot in that full count for Felton.
Was 1 ball away from loading the bases. Instead, 2 on, 2 away for Lexi McDonald. McDonald, the juniors, really earned the respect of this coaching staff. They've been trying to find a reason to get her back in the starting lineup as of late, making her 7th start of the year tonight. Gave her a chance last weekend against Iowa State and walked it off with a home run in game 2. 1-1.
Well, Gajewski was quick to tell us that McDonald will be out there. She has been told you are going to get 25, 30 at-bats. Just get a feel, get going again. Don't try to make everything happen with 1 swing of the bat to try to prove you need to be in the lineup. Allows her to play a little bit free.
Had a fantastic season a year ago, hitting .349. Grew up an Oklahoma State fan. Raised in tiny Silo, Oklahoma, a population of half of this stadium's capacity, about 330. Patient there, another 3-1 count coming up from Felton. Works her way back to a 2nd straight full count.
Felton pounds the zone. Those are good pitches. They're down in the zone. She's splitting the corner. She could execute those pitches early and then try to stretch the plate. Be a little bit more efficient.
And how about that? Felton strikes out the side.
Caitlin Felton, she's feeling it. Oklahoma State threatens. She gives the Knights the momentum.
Healthier and healthier as the season has gone on. Missed about a month with a knee injury, but in her last 5 outings has yet to allow more than 1 earned run in any of those contests.
Riley Crandall's going to throw mid-60s. She's going to have to keep a good tempo. They like to see her work quickly, keep her energy up, but she does have some good separation. She'll go up in the zone. She can go east and west. There's a little bit of a cutter. It's a fastball, but puts a little bit of a tail on it. But as we said, they're just going to try to work the corners a little bit more.
Sarah Humphreys usually leads off, but after the team managed just 1 hit off of Ruby Malin, their head coach Cindy Ball-Malone mixed up the starting lineup and the batting order. Aubrey Evans, the junior from Apopka, leading things off A .287 hitter on the year, fouls one back. This Knights team averages about 3.5 runs per game, about 272, but Cindy Ball Malone said, for better or for worse, they play to their competition. They already have 4 wins this year against ranked teams, but she said they have struggled against non-ranked squads. Facing an Oklahoma State team that comes into this one ranked 22nd. We'll see how they fare. Here is Cindy Ball Malone in her 7th year, taking this program to new heights, coming off 4 consecutive trips to the NCAA postseason. The first time in history this program has accomplished that. They call her Coach Bear, by the way, because when she was a travel player growing up, as her leadoff hitter earns a walk, she said after games she always used to pass out in the van, always used to fall asleep. Said, Cindy, you always fall asleep, you hibernate like a bear. She didn't like that nickname as a teenager, but now she absolutely loves it, and everyone knows her as Coach Bear.
And it's so interesting because she got that nickname when she was young, thought she escaped it, and then when she was working at Washington, Coach Tar heard the story and started calling her Bear, and that's really where it caught on, and everyone started calling her that. And I've known Cindy for a while because we kind of crossed over a little bit, right, her end of her career in college, mine, and so I knew of her and her accolades at Pacific, but then all of a sudden everyone started calling her Bear, and I'm like, wait, I know her as Cindy Ball. Cindy Ball is what we were, obviously got married.
Bear was her married
name. But then I'm like, where did this come from? So, but yeah, now if someone's talking about her, they'll say, hey, will you call Bear at UCF? Like, it's just it.
She has done a heck of a job. They made it to a super regional in 2022. Trying to make the postseason again here. Earned a leadoff walk to Evans, and now Humphreys behind 2-0. She came up with the only hit for the Knights last night against Ruby Malin. Big time hitter, reached in 23 straight earlier this year. Arguably the heartbeat of this offense.
Well, Humphreys the most speed on this team too. Leads the team in stolen bases. So if she gets on, she can get herself into scoring position. You get an extra base on a routine ground ball, like through the infield sometimes.
3-1 on the way from Crandall. What are you seeing out of Crandall right now? 2 walks to start off the game.
Well, everything's high right now with Crandall. And as you mentioned, Alex, she has been out. She was out with an injury. It was a knee injury. She didn't tell the staff about it. She was trying to pitch through it. So they have adjusted her posture to where she's back a little bit more, taking some pressure off that knee as she pitches. But right now you can see she's a little stiff and everything's tailing up in the zone. And she usually does a good job going side to side down in the zone. So that weight distribution and or release point are off right now.
Talking things over with pitching coach, former Cowgirls pitcher Carrie Eberly. In fact, Riley Crandall said, listen, I wanted to be the latest in what's been a long line of tremendous pitchers who have transferred into Oklahoma State and had a lot of success over the years, like Samantha Schau, Lexi Kilfoyle, and Carrie Eberly, who we just saw there, part of Kenny Gajewski's staff.
Oh yeah, Kenny Gajewski. Those are just, I think, 3 of them. Miranda Ellish came over to Oklahoma State.
Right.
There's been 5, 6, 7. He does a really good job of getting arms out of the portal. And when you see what they've been able to do with transfer arms and how successful they are, it's an appealing place for a pitcher to want to go.
Delivers strike 1 to Stormy Kotzelnick, former Ragin' Cajun, who transferred over to UCF before last year. 266 hitter. An all Sun Belt performer a few years ago for Jerry Glasgow, and the control problems continue early for Crandall. Plunks Kotzelnick, and this will load the bases.
That one's scary. Anytime a hitter is somewhat squaring to bunt, you're exposing yourself. So when you see it come up into the zone, it makes you flinch just a little bit harder, and that's Kotzelnick there. That ball came up and at her face.
One more look at that one. Those are on the numbers.
That was coming at her the whole way. There was nowhere for her to get out of the way.
And so a huge opportunity early for the freshman Beth Damon. Top 10 recruit in the nation coming out of Edmond, Oklahoma, who's lived up to the hype. 7 homers, third most by a freshman in a single season in program history. And sends one to left field. That's going to advance the runners and bring home the first run of the night. And UCF, after being shut out last night, has their first run of the series and a 1-0 lead in Game 2.
The Knights are taking advantage right now. The free passes, and Damon with the first pitch she gets. A lot of people will say, hey, why don't you be patient? She's put 3 people on for free. Damon says we have to be able to drive them in. She sees a ball over the plate, even though it was down in the zone. A nice ground ball, and we said Sierra Humphreys can run, but Coach Ball Malone was taking no chances in sending her on that ball.
UCF had 4 base runners in the entire game last night. They have already matched that total. Let's see what Ashley Griffin does. The junior out of Georgia, a 287 hitter. And she has come up with some clutch home runs against ranked opponents.
Sometimes it just takes, that first person has to crack the door open before everybody comes barging through on the offensive side. They'll say hitting is contagious. A lot of times you got to see someone else do it, and then it trickles down the offense. And in this case, just get on base and figure out how to make things happen.
Hey, listen, it's a UCF team we said was dangerous. They shut out Florida. They beat a ranked Arizona team twice. And on top here in the first, this one dropped in fair territory. 1 run comes in. And the offensive attack continues here in the bottom of the first inning. The first 5 batters of the game have now reached against Riley Crandall. 2-0.
Well, the difference in this ballgame right now is the fact that when Oklahoma State got hitters on, they were a little bit passive. Right now, the Knights have gotten hitters on, and they're being aggressive in this box. I like the base running here, though, because Warsop tries to deke like she might catch it, but Kotelnick not biting on that, staying off the bag at second to make sure she saw it down. Humphreys, knowing that was probably falling in, stayed off the bag as well, so that deke by Warsop didn't freeze either runner, excuse me.
You could see Crandall taking the signs watch off. That means we have a pitching change already here in the first.
And the winner is T-Mobile Home Internet. J.D. Power's #1 in customer satisfaction for home wireless internet.
We just want to thank T-Mobile.
The wrap it up music already? Really?
T-Mobile Home Internet has price lock. They won't raise your rate on internet.
I didn't even get to thank my Gram.
Or tell people that with T-Mobile, there's even a plan with Paramount Plus and Hulu included.
The winner is T-Mobile Home Internet with plans starting at $35 a month with price lock.
Thank you.
With hundreds of sales every week, eat well for less at Whole Foods Market.
The Copa del Rey Final exclusively on ESPN Plus and ESPN Deportes.
Still no outs here in the bottom of the first inning, and already Oklahoma State has gone to the bullpen, bringing in sophomore Katie Coots.
Well, Coots inherits, bases loaded, no outs, 2 runs already across against a Knights team that is starting to get some energy, some momentum. And when this young team gets that momentum, they don't relinquish it very often. So she's going to have to come down, try to quiet them down a little bit. But she's going to do that with good velocity. She does throw harder than Crandall, 66 to 68 miles an hour. Stay low in the zone. We saw Crandall missing up a lot on those free passes. And her cutter is going to work a little bit late break away from right-handed hitters.
What a spot to come into. Bases loaded. Still no outs. First 5 batters have reached. Here is Izzy Mertez, the freshman out of California, who leads the team in doubles and walks. And she takes ball 1. Homered in the win over Florida last month. Walked last night. Strike one from Coots. Katie Coots is a former two-time Virginia Gatorade High School Pitcher of the Year. Highly touted recruit coming out of McLean, Virginia. But this is there.
Similar to Crandall, she's missing a lot up in the zone. Both known to be pitchers who can live down in the zone. Mix the up if they need to, but the control for their hard stuff right now, everything Talon high.
Well, this has been the question for Oklahoma State all season long. We know Ruby Malin is your ace. Who is your number two? Who is your day two starter consistently? It's kind of changed depending on the week and the month. Went with Crandall tonight, and now it's Coots trying to keep it a two-run game for Kenny Gajewski. Fouled off by Mertens.
You have to know that Kenny Gajewski and Carrie Eberly, when they got Riley Crandall from the transfer portal, they've seen what she can do. She's had success last season in against Florida. She had some success against Oklahoma State themselves, which is what made them want to grab her. You and I have called games where we've seen her successful against Texas, who has put up some great offensive numbers in the last 3 years. And so they know she has that capability. And here they're trying to get her to grow into that capability to really be that next starter behind Ruby Malin, because if they have to go Ruby Malin for the rest of the season plus into postseason, it's just not going to bode well.
This one sent to right on the run. The grab made, and the runners hold for the first out here in the bottom of the first inning. By the way, the right fielders and the left fielders have switched after that pitching change. So Warsop moves to right. McDonald slides over to left.
I'm going to take the gamble that most balls off of the bats of right-handed hitters against Coots go to right field, right center. And here we see it again. Whoever's come, we may see this every time lefty and righty come up.
I'm just not going to change anything now. I have eraser shavings everywhere.
Well, Warsop has such good speed and such good first step. You saw it there on that ball in the gap. So they're going to try to pitch to where Warsop and Delgadillo are going to be the two who are chasing down the ball.
Well, here is Samantha Ray, who usually hits in the 2 spot, bumped down to the 7th spot in the order tonight as the base is loaded. Takes ball one there from Coots. Ray, second on the team in doubles. 272 hitter. And by the way, a fantastic defensive player as well. Ray, a member of Big 12 all-freshman team a season ago. Chops one over to first, and off the glove of Godwin. That is going to bring in another run. 3-0 Knights. It's been Murphy's Law for Oklahoma State so far in this half of the inning.
Well, Ray gets around this one and hits a topper, but here you see work over there just reaching for it. Doesn't keep her body moving through it. Even if she wasn't going to be able to have a play at home, if Kotzelnick had a good jump, moving through it, she would have been able to have a play at first, record the second out. But right now, Oklahoma State starting to press a little bit, trying to do too much instead of keeping it simple.
It's like Groundhog Day for Kenny Gajewski in this inning. The base is loaded again. Still just one out. Here's Kendall Yarnell getting the start, the freshman out of Kansas. Led the Big 12 in pinch hit appearances this year and did so well hitting .318. Decided why not give her the start.
Sometimes you have to, but then there's also the times you hear coaches say, oh, she's so great pinch hitting, but every time we give them a start, they go 0 for. A good pinch hitter is hard to find though too. Someone who can stay ready, stay in the moment to get the only one opportunity and not have to make an adjustment throughout the game. So if you have someone like that, it's always good for you depth-wise.
It's going to be ball 3. If there has been a problem for Coots, it has been the free passes. 49 walks on the year, 3rd most in the entire Big 12.
Well, right now, just uncharacteristic of Oklahoma State in general. It's not just the free passes, it's the fact that there have been so many of them in one inning, and the adjustment to be lower in the zone hasn't happened.
And she walks in a run. So in this inning for the Knights, they've been issued 3 walks. A batter has been hit. They've delivered 2 singles. And another batter reached on an error. 4-0 UCF, still just 1 out.
Well, right now, the Knights just taking advantage, and you can tell they're looking for a certain part of the zone. We did see Damon aggressive early. She saw a ball over the plate, down in the zone. She went aggressive, got the base hit. But if it's not down in the zone right now, the Knights are not offering at it, and you can tell they're very patient. Even anything close to the belt, they're not aggressive.
Kenny Gajewski told us, listen, and everybody knows it, he said, we're putting too much pressure on Ruby Malin's arm. And she knows it at times she's going for the strikeout as opposed to just getting the out. And the supporting cast so far has given up 4 runs. They do get the force at home for the 2nd out here in the 1st. But again, who on this pitching staff will step up besides Malin?
Oh, that's a lot of pressure for any one pitcher to carry, especially when you're playing elite competition day in and day out. Kenny Gajewski calling time just to let the home plate umpire know that they switched the outfield for, I think, the 4th time in this inning so far. Warsop and McDonald might run a mile before this game's over.
I'll take his word for it. They're getting their steps in tonight. Here's Aubrey Evans, bases loaded, 2 away. She walked to begin the inning. Strike 1 delivered by Coots. Evans has gotten hot lately. 5 home runs on the year. And misses. Broke onto the scene a couple of years ago with one of the greatest freshman seasons in program history. UCF record 18 doubles. And has continued to hit well throughout her career, now ahead 2-1.
Well, UCF has continually found the athletes that can come in and have impactful years like that right off the bat. Evans has the chance to continue to learn under former teammate Shannon Donahoe.
Smashes one to deep left, and it leaves the yard. A grand slam for Aubrey Evans. 8-0 Knights. UCF couldn't have asked for a better start.
Well, I was talking about learning under teammate, and I mispronounced. It's Shannon Doherty, but Shannon Doherty was known for hits like this, and Aubrey Evans absolutely lays into this pitch up in the zone, over the heart of the plate. She is aggressive. She gets this place absolutely popping. We got bubbles blowing over here, Alex.
Taking a page from Texas A&M's home crowd. Keep this in mind also with the score being 8-0. UCF hasn't beaten Oklahoma State in 16 years. It's still obviously extremely early, but 8-0 is a heck of a lead.
A huge lead, especially after the first. You're seeing the 2nd pitcher of the game so far. But I think on the flip side too, Oklahoma State pressing the error at first base. They did come home on a ball that I thought maybe they could turn a double play in the inning. But really, we go back to the free passes, just putting the first 3 hitters on base without making them earn it by swinging the bat. That really can set the tone. And it, to be honest, kind of lulls your defense sometimes into a sleep when you're not able to throw a lot of strikes.
Just an unreal start for the Knights. But their head coach was the first one to tell us, listen, I don't know why, but we play to our competition, and they are certainly doing that tonight.
Well, and they did for 6 innings last night, too. You know, it was scoreless through 6. They had a not good 7th that looked something like this, right? It was this is what happened to the Knights in the 7th inning last night.
That's right, all 7 runs coming in 1 inning. The complete opposite, all 8 runs for UCF coming here in the first. There's a walk issued, meanwhile, to Humphreys, another free pass. Stormy Kotzelnick will be due up as the Knights have batted around and then some. I mean, you could see the reaction by UCF. If you're in the other dugout, what are you saying? What is Kenny Gajewski saying? Who steps up there?
Well, and that's right now what he's looking at his pitchers to do is figure out how to make an adjustment.
And at this point, you have to wonder, does another pitching change need to be made? Coming out of the bullpen, Coots walked 2 and allowed the grand slam.
Well, and after she was pulled, Riley Crandall went right back to the bullpen, so they may reinsert her in this game at some point. They do have 2 other arms they could use. You know they're not going to have Ruby Malin go out there unless they're able to make a comeback offensively. But at the same time, there's a point in season where you sometimes have to force a pitcher to work through it.
Well, you look at the hits column, and it's only 3-2 in favor of the Knights. That does not tell the story at all. Those 3 hits, a couple of singles, and a grand slam. And about a half dozen walks and a hit batter as well. 3-1 on the way. And another walk. This is unreal.
You can see too right now, UCF is very comfortable in the box. They're not chasing a whole lot. They have confidence that they'll be able to barrel something up because Kuntz is gonna have to come over the heart of the plate right now to induce a swing.
Last night, 4 base runners total for the Knights, 1 hit. That's ancient history. Just doing everything right so far as we are still in the first. Humphreys and Kotzelnick aboard for Beth Damon. Drove in the first run of the night with an RBI single.
I like the way the Knights are approaching their at-bats, though. Mentioned that they're sitting for something over the plate. That's the 2nd time we've seen Damon come swinging aggressively early because the ball is over the plate. Not trying to work the walk, but going to take it if it's there.
2 counts to the freshman. Damon is homered in 3 of her last 5 games. This could be a dangerous team in the postseason, depending on how they finish the regular season. RPI for the Knights in the 40s coming into this one. But again, an impressive resume, beating a number of ranked opponents.
Well, and the way they play leaves Coach Cindy Bombalone asking, like, we can play with the best. We have wins against the best. But if we do that consistently, then that's what's going to allow us to be able to be in the talk for hosting, which they've done before. They were the 16th seed and won their regional and got the fun trip to Norman, Oklahoma after that.
Meanwhile, we have our 2nd hit batter of the inning, and the base is loaded yet again. So 2 hit batters and 5 walks so far in this frame. And if you're Katie Coots right now, what does your inner dialogue have to be to try and settle things down?
An interesting fact to me is that Hassler hasn't called time and gone out there to talk to her at all. The coaches can only call time so often, and so you're not going to call time every time she has 2 walks, because after you go out there the 2nd time, you have to replace her if they're not ready to do that yet. then they won't go out. But nobody's slowing her down or making her think or even breaking up the momentum that UCF is starting to cultivate. But if I'm Kuntz, I'm making it real simple. See what pitch is called, lock in with my eyes on that location, and let my body, all of it, just accelerate to that location. Not try to make it move a whole lot. Right now, just hit a good spot and see if you can get a miss hit by UCF.
2-0 count to Ashley Griffin, who singled earlier in this inning. And a 3-0 count with nowhere to put her. And Crandall can re-enter the game. Knights all around the bases. Freeze, Kotzelnick and Damon, and time is called.
Well, Kuntz had to call time as she didn't get a pitch call in on her watch. And the pitching clock was winding down.
There is a strike. Three 1 counts to Griffin. And another run walked in. 9-zip. We mentioned Oklahoma State felt like they had turned the corner after dropping that series to Iowa State. They dismantled Wichita State in a 10-2 run rule midweek victory. Last night they won 7-0, but it's just a completely different story so far tonight, Cap.
Well, and these are the games that Coach Kenny Gajewski is scratching his head on. He knows he has a talented team. He knows they can win. He sees glimpses of turning that corner that he mentioned to us, and then you go back and there's just absolutely no answer right now. I mean, you don't have an answer to this many free passes.
We will have our third pitcher of the game and the inning for the Cowgirls in a 9.
Well, to command the strike zone, UCF having a lot of confidence. You have to be careful throwing over the heart of the plate too, because they are ready to unleash. Aycock had such a great freshman year, put herself on the map, so has the talent. Just hasn't been as consistent as Coach Gajewski and Carrie Eberly would like.
This is the first time in 5 years that UCF has scored 9 runs in an inning. February 21st of 2020 against Tennessee was the last time it happened.
It's a hard feat to do. You don't just go through your lineup 1.5 times very often.
Count 1 and 2 now to Izzy Mertez. Bases still loaded, 2 away. Aycock just trying to help her squad get out of the inning. Just getting a piece of that one was Mertez.
Aycock working down in the zone. Got her first 2 strikes inside, trying to expand out there.
This is the 15th batter of the inning, Cap.
Mertez, on the other hand, is trying to avoid being the first and third out of this inning. She did have a nice shot to right field, though.
Strikeout does end the frame, but what a position player starting this year who played the same position last year. Everybody has moved around, yet here we are. They're on their way to potentially taking down a ranked team for the 5th time this year. You can't say enough about the job Coach Bear has done.
She's done a great job, and she talked to us the fact they were so young. They graduated like 11 seniors last year, and they were all big parts of this program for a long time. So a lot of times you'll have a little bit of a fall off or a rebuild, but she's been excited about what this young team has showed, and now it's a matter of getting them to do that consistently. See, she's got the earpiece in for calling pitches.
This one taken over the head of the second baseman, Ray, by Michaela Wark. Second hit of the night for Oklahoma State. Seems like forever ago they were up at the plate. That's because that last inning lasted 45 minutes.
Yeah, and Felton does a good job. This pitch a little bit over the plate, but she was behind in the count. Still off the bat, the end of the bat off of Wark to bloop in there to right center. But if you're Felton and UCF, you're not stressing over 1 hit, 2 hits right now. The goal is just to figure out how to get outs any which way you can. Obviously with the 9-run lead, very comfortable out there.
And UCF playing tonight without their quote-unquote ace, Isabella Vega, as pinch runner Macy Graff takes over at first. Vega started last night through 3 shutout innings. And Vega's in the running for Big 12 Freshman of the Year.
Yeah, Vega through those 3 innings came out, but right now with a 9-0 lead, again, good chance to let Felton work, get some other pitchers some innings if this gets later in the game and they still have a big lead.
Tia Warsop bunts that one foul. The Big 12 just wide open this year. I mean, currently Texas Tech in first, but they dropped game 1 of their series against Arizona last night. Nyjah Kennedy hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs in a game all year, yet she's already lost 5 times, including last night, 2-1.
Well, Nyjah Kennedy starting to kind of feel that fatigue a little bit. She's throwing a ton for Texas Tech. When they play ranked teams, 2 of the 3 games are hers for sure. Sometimes she goes in relief as well. But in that game,
Felton with the toss. Tell you what, Griffin did a great job just preventing that from rolling down to right field. So the first 2 batters here, Warwick and Warsop, have reached for the Cowgirls.
well, Warsop has incredible speed, and she's able to read the defense here. And you see her get her barrel out and around so she can take that ball down the first baseline, because the only person who can field it is Felton herself with the way they're shifted. Great job by Tia Warsop to read the defense.
So 3 of the first 7 batters do have hits off of Felton. To aboard, here's Megan Delgadillo. Player they call Cheese because she 24/7 has a smile on her face like she's taking a picture. And for good reason. One of the fastest players in the country, won the NCAA's Golden Shoe Award for most stolen bases a year ago. Let's see what she can do here. One turned foul.
Delgadillo coming over from Cal State Fullerton last year. Was the leadoff hitter for Kenny Gajewski and his squad early this season. Started out real hot and since plateaued, so moved her down in lineup. But that's another one. If she can get going, she has speed to where they can put her up the top of the lineup, move Talon Edwards and Rosie Davis down. Or if you even, with Megan Bloodworth as well, another speedster. They have a lot of speed at the bottom part of this lineup.
Delgadillo's got 174 career stolen bases, nation's active leader. Cowgirls could use as many base runners as possible. Oklahoma State is actually out hitting UCF right now 4-3, despite the score.
Again, we talk about the fact there were 3 free passes, but the Knights got on the board with a single to start with, and they were able to make things happen.
Over to short, on to second for 1, and there's the first out of the frame. Runners on the corners. So Oklahoma State, again, runners left on. Even in the win was a problem last night. They left 2 on in the first inning. They have 2 on here with 1 away from Megan Bloodworth in the 9 spot.
Heads up play there by Aubrey Evans, not to try to do too much, just get the lead out. She wasn't going to get Delgadillo at first.
The senior Bloodworth having a career year, to say the least. Comes in tonight hitting .330. She was batting around 190 in her previous 2 seasons and has doubled her home run total from a year ago. That's trying to get the Cowgirls on the board here in the second.
Kenny Gajewski said she's been doing great, but anytime I move her out of the 9 spot, it doesn't work. So she's just in the 9 spot. I can't tell you how many times this season I've heard that.
You took the words out of my mouth. You know how many coaches say that? I don't know if it's a superstitious thing, but something about that 9 spot. 1 and 2.
Oklahoma State trying to squeeze home a run there, but Bloodworth unable to keep that ball fair. And those are the small things about execution that you have to be able to do, not just in games like this when you're down 9, but you need to be able to execute that squeeze so when the pressure's on in a close game, you're able to get it down.
One, 2 on the way from Felton. Shallow right field. Mertez makes the grab. Runner tags. The throw cut off. First run of the game comes in for the Cowgirls.
Off the bat, I wasn't sure if that was going to get deep enough to be able to score Macy Groff.
And now we go back up to the top of the order. Runner on first, 2 away in a 9-1 game. Edwards started off the night with a single. She has reached in 11 straight. Whips 1 foul. Talon Edwards came up big in the postseason last year for Oklahoma State. Had a hit in every single game they played in the regionals and the supers, including a 2-run blast against Arizona in the latter. Oh, 1.
Felton getting a little bit of a generous call there at the belt. Oklahoma State fans are arguing over here from the first base
They
side.
have no reason to argue right now. They would take a 9-1 lead if you told them that was going to be the score in the second inning. Runner is going, throw on to second, and sliding in safely is Delgadillo, career stolen base number 175.
Oh, and you can see the speed there of Delgadillo. UCF pitched out in order to allow Damon a chance to have an easy throw. Delgadillo gets there in plenty of time, regardless of the bounce throw.
And with her speed, maybe another base knock, depending on where it lands.
There was no cheesing
bring it
there,
home.
but she was like a swaying
No
tree.
Yeah, what happened to the smile? Although, with the score being what it is.
I think UCF is going to challenge that Delgadillo might have left early.
First challenge of the night by either team. Issued by Cindy Ball Malone. Right now, Oklahoma State can use any runner in scoring position they can get. Here's another look at Delgadillo at first.
Here's the slow-mo. Yeah, I think her foot was still in the bag as they came into the release zone. So the ball has to be out of Felton's hand before Delgadillo's off the bag.
Quick review.
It is, I think. Yeah.
And they say she did not leave early. Delgadillo is safe. Tonight's umpiring crew led by Brady Sanderson behind home plate. Shane Jackson at first, Chad Steers at third, and Delgadillo at second. Count will be 1-2 to Talon Edwards with 2 away. Fights one off. Felton ended the last inning with a strikeout. In fact, 3 straight to end the first.
Yeah, Talon Edwards and Rosie Davis both found their way on base with singles, and then Felton responded. But again, we talked about it in the open, Alex. A senior was going to have to lead the way for this young squad. And that momentum of 3 strikeouts after Oklahoma State threatens gave some life to the Knights.
Could have absolutely been different, as you said. First 2 batters reached. And then Felton shut the door. Moments later, UCF would grab all the momentum. Trying to even the series up at 1. There's a dart past the diving Ray. Here comes run number 2 for the Cowgirls. Edwards holds up, then advances to third. It'll be an RBI triple for Talon Edwards. Cowgirls coming to life here in the second.
Well, Talon Edwards puts a good swing on this ball. That is just over the plate by Felton. Down in the zone, but over the plate, past a diving Ray. Gets all the way to the fence, but Kittleman goes sliding in. She can't grip it. She tries to toss it to Mertez. She can't grip it. Gives 2 extra bases to Edwards.
Okay, well, at least for now, again, we're a few innings away from the 5th. Cowgirls out of potential run rule territory. Here is Rosie Davis, who singled the first. Their offense has 5 hits through the first inning and 2/3.
And they were, like we said, they were able to get a runner in scoring position in the first inning, just didn't make the most of it. Had the capability to get themselves back in this game, and said in the beginning of this top of the second that UCF just needed to worry about getting outs and not trying to do too much. Still comes into play. They're still up by 7 right now. Granted, the run rule's not in effect, but you have a large enough lead that you're not stressing about every single base runner or run scored.
They are known as the comeback Cowgirls. 11 come from behind wins this year for Oklahoma State. 9 of those after they trailed by multiple runs, but this would be an entirely different story. Trailing 9-0 at one point. This would be historic. Still got a ways to go. UCF in control, 2-1 from Felton. A 3-1 count.
Now Felton's looking like she's getting a little bit out of rhythm. Even with the 2 hits in the first, felt like her tempo was keeping consistent.
Called strike 2. Davis will step back in the box. Payoff pitch. And a walk, 2 on for the... Looks unreal. Absolutely unreal. Check it out, 4 p.m. Eastern. You look like you don't believe me, Kat.
Well, I haven't seen it yet, although I did have gymnastics on last night when I got into the hotel.
Well, check it out. Tomorrow afternoon, runners on the corners, 2 away. There is strike 1 to Amanda Hasler.
There was some upsets in those 2 semifinals of gymnastics.
I'll take your word for it.
Missouri snuck in, and I think reigning champion Florida did not make it.
Look at you. Worked with you for years. Didn't notice about you. You are dialed in to the balance beam.
Yep. Actually, I really like the floor routines, and the vault, because they go flying in the air.
I could see you doing that.
I would break a hand doing that. An arm would hyperextend.
0-2 on the way to Hasler, and that one misses low and away.
Yeah, 3 of the 4 teams I can remember made it. Oklahoma made it as well, and they have the individual all-around champion.
Are you going to predict a winner?
Oh, and UCLA made it because they have Jordan Childs. So, no, I'm not going to predict a winner. I'm not that in tune.
Meanwhile, Felton has to be careful here. The count now at 2-2. Last thing you want to do up 7, a home run's not going to kill you. You load the bases, and you're playing with fire.
Well, right now, Felton just has to regroup and refocus. Base hit, bunt base hit, fine. Let your defense work. But you've already watched what free passes can do on the flip side, so go out and attack the strike zone. Force Oklahoma State to really have to make their bats work. She's in the part of the lineup where she was able to execute in the first inning.
Struck out Hasler in the first. 2-2 to the junior transfer here. Got her another inning-ending strikeout.
Well, the senior is going ahead and keeping the emotions on the Knights side. Second strikeout of Amanda Hasler as the Knights look to extend their lead. Try to gain some, chipping away at this lead, but the question that I have is Aycock going to be able to keep them in this ball game? Riley Crandall can re-enter. They have 2 other arms. I don't believe we'll see Ruby Malin unless this game gets close. So it's going to come down to Aycock and Riley Crandall if she re-enters to really keep the Knights at bay.
They used 3 pitchers in that 45-minute first inning. Aycock has fallen behind to the leadoff hitter here in the second. 2-1 count to Samantha Ray, who reached on an error in the first. "15 batters came up to the plate. There's 15 different at-bats for UCF in the first. This one to left center. Delgadillo was shaded that way and makes the grab. Well, if you're Oklahoma State, they have hosted at least a regional every season going back to 2018, 2018, the last time Kenny Gajewski's squad did not host a regional. But it seems like right now are on the outside looking in. They're ranked number 22, 18th in the RPI. It will be a tall order the rest of the way for the Cowgirls.
Now, the Cowgirls do have to take care of business the rest of the way. They have the Big 12 tournament to make up some ground as well. They do have some key wins, though, that have allowed them to be in a good position. You see the 18th RPI, the number 10 strength of schedule, which is something that has come into play quite a bit when the committee talks about who hosts and who doesn't. But the key to me is not the 5-9 record against the top 25, but the 7-1 record in what they say is quad 2. So that's 26 through 50. They've taken care of business there where they need to. However, there are 4 losses in quad 3 that are some red flags as well.
It's tough to tell what to make of this team from our perspective, and I imagine Kenny Gajewski feels the same way, because he said it before the season started that this was the most talented team he'd ever coached, and he reiterated that to us a few days ago. He doubled down on that comment, said it absolutely is. We just have to figure out a way to get them to play to their potential. And spoke to center field, base knock for Yarnell.
Oh, Kenny Gajewski just has to figure out how to get everyone, and he talked about it, their staff had a meeting and got on the same page. Now everyone going in that same direction, and it doesn't happen overnight. And yes, they had a great game against Wichita State, but they have to continue to move forward without that pressure that they were all feeling, even though it wasn't a verbalized type of pressure. And I love that Coach Gajewski takes so much ownership of it, but there's a time too, and you know, I've been an athlete, so I can say it, that you have to look at yourself and say, am I playing to the best of my capability right now? And if I'm not, why is that?
Do you sense that at all watching the team from a player's perspective? What's your gut feeling?
I think there's some pressing. They're trying to be the player they are as opposed to letting themselves be the player they are. You know, we saw that even in the first inning with Work and the errors she had at first, trying to make too much happen instead of just, hey, I know how to make this play easy go. So as an athlete, sometimes you have to take a deep breath as well.
There's a timing violation there. Looked like it was on the batter, Taylor Kittleman.
Well, they're saying that the hitter was not in the box yet. She has to be in the box ready to hit before it gets to 10 seconds. And so they're going to call a strike against her.
One and two count. Kenny Gajewski said for the first time in his life he felt pressure this year. But he said not externally, he said from himself. And he didn't realize it until about a week ago that he was being that hard on himself as that one gets away from the catcher, Hassler, and easily advancing is Yarnell.
Well, and even for Gajewski, we talk about all the transfers he's gotten in. And he's gotten position players as well as pitchers, but he's always had a stud pitcher that he's gotten in who can either complement or be 1A, 1B with somebody. This year, as he's mentioned, he has Ruby Malin, but right now that second arm is still to be determined. So as a coaching staff, you have to figure out what that is, and then how do you coach knowing that that's a point of contention right now?
Wise play by Hassler to let that one turn foul.
I'm not sure if they called her out of the box. He put his arm out like it might have. Either way, I think she bunted. So with 2 strikes, if you're bunting and it goes foul, that's an out. So not sure what the hesitation was, but either way, they have retired Kittleman.
And look who's up, Aubrey Evans, who broke this one open with a grand slam in the last inning. She walked before that. UCF entered tonight 3 games out of that 5th spot in the conference standings. Again, top 5 teams in the Big 12 get a bye in the first round of the tournament. That one booted by Davis. That's going to bring in the 10th run of the night for UCF.
Well, Evans, a hard ground ball, but this just rolls right up Davis. Again, I don't see her move into it at all, but that ricochets off her far enough away that Yarnell is able to score.
Errors have definitely been a problem in their losses this year as that one misses to Sierra Humphreys. It has been a main issue in their losses. They average about 1.5 errors per game in their losses. About half an error per contest in their wins. They have 2 so far tonight. And we've seen it all. Not only hits in the grand slam by UCF, but the 2 errors tonight by Oklahoma State, hit batters, walks as well. They certainly haven't helped themselves.
Well, and that's when we talk about Oklahoma State's resume. There is a point that the committee looks at. What have you done the last 10 or 15 games as well? Do you get hot at the end? A lot of times the bubble teams will make it because they get hot at the end. You know, I coached at Texas State for 6 years. There's a year that we made it because the last 10 games we were able to go on a winning streak. And you win some big games, you turn some eyes to you. So as you mentioned, 10 regular season games left. They're going to have to really turn some heads.
Scooped up by Aycock just in time to get Sierra Humphreys. However, it is back to an 8-run lead for UCF. It has been all nights tonight in Orlando. That continues as we move on to the 3rd.
As a pitcher, you have to be comfortable playing defense. You have to be able to field your position, but make a good hard throw, because it was the easy throw from Aycock that allowed Humphreys to beat that out. Don't get me wrong, she has good speed, but if she had made a harder throw, that gets to her first baseman in time. It was the little loft of a throw that allowed Humphreys to be safe.
Nothing quite going their way in the field or in the circle right now. Stormy Kotzelnick walked in the first inning and was hit by a pitch. That misses.
Hancock doing a good job of working around the zone. She's limited the free passes thus far. See Ariseball to try to stretch it vertically there, but more consistent than we saw earlier in this game.
Kotzelnick to left center on the run. Delgadillo and makes the grab, showing off that speed. Not an easy play, but this time the inning does come to an end. It's a 10-2 lead.
Both of them were possible ending plays that didn't happen. But for UCF, it was the reverse. They had errors that started the inning and allowed Oklahoma State to get some momentum and then break down the door.
Let's talk about the Knights postseason. They're looking to make an NCAA regional for the 5th consecutive year. Pretty strong RPI coming in tonight. We see what they're doing. What do you make about their potential postseason path and a run?
Well, UCF is really primed to make the postseason. They're 31 RPI, as we mentioned. They have 4 ranked wins. If they win tonight, that's 5 ranked wins. That goes in their favor really well. Not going to host, but they could be a solid 2 seed wherever they get sent.
Over to short, handled by Evans. Nicely, 1 away.
You know, a lot of times when you become the 2 seed, it's somewhere within driving distance. They have the confidence against Florida. They already upset them once this season as they were ranked number 4. But there's an extremely good record. The strength of schedule, again, key. And same thing, 5 and 9 against top 25 RPI opponents. So they have wins in that first quad. And as we mentioned, they're 31, so they're in quad 2 right now. But I really believe that it'll be good experience for their young team as they get into postseason. But if they get hot and the confidence does actually go with them, they could be a pesky 2 seed for whoever's hosting.
Yeah, they could be a dangerous team to face, especially when you see what they continue to do against ranked teams. And again, last night's score, a little bit deceiving. It was 7-0 Oklahoma State, but it was 0-0 headed into the 7th. And if it wasn't for some great defensive plays by the Oklahoma State outfield earlier in the game, UCF could have had the lead.
That had to be the post-game conversation too, was if those plays had fallen, they would have had a lead, they would have had momentum. What does that look like? And I really felt like when UCF took the field today, there was a sense of urgency to grab some energy early. Felton did it with the 3 straight strikeouts after 2 base hits. But then on the offensive side, they took that same energy, and the second they had a runner in scoring position, were able to get a base hit, drive in the run, create their own momentum instead of waiting around to see if it was going to happen based off the free passes.
2 to Lexi McDonald. She sends one down the line and right and hauled in just in fair territory by Mertes. 2 away. Felton continues to get it done in the circle with the 1-2 duo of Vega and Felton. Those 2 pitchers, 2 of the top 5 ERAs in the entire Big 12.
There's one thing that UCF has been able to do. They're always able to pitch. Coach Cindy Baumelone, a pitcher herself, a 2-way player, really. She was able to swing it as well, but she always makes sure that they have pitchers that complement each other. I laughed when we talked to her because she said they redshirted Vega last year. They didn't feel like she was ready. They wanted her to work on some things. But then the success she's had so far this season, she's like, should we really have redshirted her? Or maybe we should have gone ahead and let her play.
And Cindy Baumelone seems to make all the right moves.
Well, she does. And if your gut tells you an athlete's not ready and you force them to throw, then most of the time it's not going to work. And to be honest, she has an arm now that even though she's having some great success, that makes you think maybe she would have had that last year too. She's getting to work as a 1-2 with Felton, learn from Felton, get some big games under her own belt, and that allows her to grow after adapting to college life for a year.
We know what you did as a player in the Circle, Cat. As a pitching coach, how could you tell when a pitcher wasn't ready and needed to redshirt?
A lot of it is when you start to talk to them, do they understand how they throw, how they execute their pitches? Some of it is if you get a pitcher who you think you can put some meat on, make them a little bit stronger.
Well, Work put some meat on that pitch, but Evans was right there. Happened to her last year at Stanford. It hasn't always been there. She lost 2-1 last night. Not pitching tonight, at least not in the game yet, as they are duking it out with Arizona.
If you're going to ask me who has the all-around best team, and I said at the beginning of the year, I thought it was going to come down to Oklahoma State and Arizona. Because yes, Texas Tech has Nyjah. Nyjah can win, but as you said, we saw early on that run support was going to be a question mark. Now, obviously, Oklahoma State has hit their own speed bumps. I think the complete package is Arizona, but they've shown some hesitation at times too. UCF went out there in Tucson, in one of the, I don't want to say hostile,
Arizona,
but exciting environments at Hildebrand, and took 2.
Beth Damon retired there on the ground out. And you look at Kennedy, and don't forget, you talked about big series taking place this weekend. Tomorrow we got a top 10 matchup, Texas and LSU. Nyjah Kennedy's lost 5 times this year when she's allowed 2 earned runs or less. It's almost the same issue that happened to her last year. We'll see what happens in the postseason, but again, they lost last night to Arizona. And that tournament is going to be fascinating because you can see a number of teams winning that.
Really, anybody can win, and you're going to have to be able to win on 4 consecutive days, right? You can't just go win a couple games. Yes, there's going to be buys, so it could be 3 consecutive days. But there's not many aces that can throw complete game, complete game, and not have fatigue. And you don't want to fatigue an arm that early when you know you're going to postseason. And so if you're Texas Tech, Arizona, those 2, you don't have to fatigue arms. Now, Arizona has more arms to use, which is why I would give them a nod, but it'll be an interesting tournament.
Now, in your day, it certainly would be a shocker to see you pitch every game. Even just a few years ago, it was pretty commonplace. You don't see it too much anymore. Could a team like Oklahoma State, as the walk issued to Ashley Griffin by Kyra Aycock, could the Cowgirls, once the postseason hits, rely on Ruby Malin to pretty much start and pitch every game?
They could, and they might have to if they're going to be in the conversation to host a regional. So I think they're going to have to look at how close are they and what is best for them moving forward for success into regionals, and if they want to make a super. I think the key with Oklahoma State and Ruby Malin is, are you confident enough if you only have a 2 or 3 run lead, can you take 2 innings off of Ruby Malin's arm? And that'll be the question that right now, I don't think they would, but can you get to that point in the next 2 weeks?
Backing up, making the grab is Davis. 2 away. Yeah, Malin has been tremendous this year. 1-hit shutout last night. On the year, 16-6. But can't do it all.
Well, and as we talk about that, here's the differentiation. Ruby Malin's already thrown 144 innings compared to 109 for the rest of the team, the other 4 arms. Coming into today, not counting that, but you just see the big ERA difference too. So Ruby Malin really it for Oklahoma State right now.
I mean, she's thrown 70% of their innings this year. But you do get worried about what Kenny Gajewski told us, that she knows it's all on her shoulders at times, and at times she's going for the strikeout too much.
And sometimes you get in those situations as a pitcher, instead of just letting your pitch work, you think, oh my gosh, I have to strike them out. I can't let them score. I can't do this. Tense up, then your pitch doesn't do what it's supposed to, and then it gets hit. And that's where it's just sometimes you have to have a reminder, and whether it's a catcher signal or talking, or when a coach comes out and says, hey, just let your pitches do what they do, and if somebody hits a good pitch, then we'll tip our hat. But Kenny Gajewski was quick to tell us, it's not like good pitches are getting hit. That's been the big thing.
It's going to find its way to right field. Couple of base runners on now for the Knights. With 2 away, they've had at least 2 base runners on in every inning now.
Aycock issued her first free pass of the game to Griffin with 1 out in this inning. And I will point out still, Kendall Yarnell had a decent single up the middle, but nothing else has been extremely hard off the bats of the Knights against Aycock.
No earned runs allowed. And 6 unearned runs given up by the Cowgirls. First inning alone. Saw 6 walks and a couple of hit batters. That set the tone. Kendall Yarnell walked in the first inning with the bases loaded. Singled in the second. Talked about her being one of the best pinch hitters in the Big 12, earning the start tonight. Actually, pinch hitter, the usual starter. Coco Jaimez, the freshman out of Riverside, California, thought she would get a breather tonight. Getting her first plate appearance here in a 10-2 game. 11 hits on the season.
Okay, here we go.
It's an opportunity for Coach Bear to be able to take some pressure off Jaimez, let her relax as a starter, but still give her the opportunity to pinch hit. As we talked about, you have to be able to come off the bench and execute. Jaimez unable to stay with that one. Aycock given.
Caitlin Felton has given up a couple of runs off 5 hits. That one bounces off of her, and the leadoff hitter, Tia Warsop, reaches.
It was the bottom part of the lineup that was able to break through against Felton in the second inning. Started with Michaela Work, but this time Tia Warsop gets the first hit up the middle. And Warsop and Megan Delgadillo back to back is a lot of speed that defenses have to handle.
I mean, Oklahoma State's offense certainly hasn't been bad. They have as many hits as UCF tonight, 6 apiece. Delgadillo shows bunt. A stolen base earlier in the contest, extending her lead as the nation's active career leader in stolen bases to 175. Drops down the bunt, charging in from third. The throw to first in time. Heck of a play by Humphreys, hustling in from the hot corner.
Tremendous defense here by Humphreys. Delgadillo has great speed, a nice bunt, trying to take it down the first baseline. Humphreys calls everyone off because her momentum is moving her that way. Able to make the great crisp throw there to Jaimez at first.
Humphreys, the sophomore out of California, again one of 13 underclassmen on this team. Cindy Ball Malone calls the playground kids. That one into foul territory.
Well, there was a Hall of Fame coach at Hofstra a long time ago, and one of his last speaking engagements at the NFCA convention was letting kids play like it's the playground. Letting them pick their teams the way you pick when you're younger and go have scrimmages and whatnot that make it feel like it's the playground.
That's what the Knights are doing. Humphreys with the throw to first. They get 1. Lead runner advances. Don't forget tonight over on ESPN, it's the NBA postseason, the 8th place play-in match between the Mavs and the Grizzlies. Winner moves on to play the Thunder in the first round. Coverage begins at 9:30 Eastern. The Grizzlies just announcing yesterday Ja Morant is questionable. And when you talk about the Mavs, did you see the interview with Luka Doncic on ESPN? They came out earlier today with Malika Andrews. If you didn't, go to ESPN.com. His reaction to finding out he was traded earlier this year was priceless. That's all I'll say. I'll tell you, Kat, in between the break. But
Okay.
for the viewer, you know,
Go check it out.
let's direct him. 1-1 counts. Delivered to the leadoff hitter, Talon Edwards. Runner over at third in Warsaw. Well, ironically, you talked about this team playing loose, like they're on the playground, like they're kids. Kenny Gajewski told us that it's exactly what he's been trying to get his club to do. He said, play like you did in elementary school or middle school. Play loose and relaxed.
Sometimes as athletes, you have to remember your why. Why did you fall in love with this game to begin with? And it goes back to, like, it was fun. So what part of it was fun? Let's figure out, tap into that. I just thought pitching was fun, so that's what I tapped into.
Of course you did.
I wanted no part of working on being a hitter or base running.
When you're that good, why wouldn't it be? It's a 2-out walk issued to Edwards, who has now reached 6 times in the first 2 games.
Not a bad walk there. Edwards is the most consistent hitter for Oklahoma State right now. 2 hits in this game. One of those drove in run earlier today. Have to be careful though with Rosie Davis as well, as she's found herself on base twice.
Drove in the first run of the game last night, singled and walked tonight. They've had base runners in both contests, but the first 2 games combined now, they have left 12 on. Davis was a finalist for National Freshman of the Year a season ago. She had 5-11 with runners in scoring position last year. Hasn't been too far off that this season.
Nice off-speed pitch there by Felton. And she's able to execute that pitch in the zone. It is a nasty pitch. It's the speed differential and the way it kind of floats. It almost frisbees, so it'll have a tail up or a tail out.
Well, the bases will be loaded. And for Oklahoma State, listen, right now you're just trying to get out of run rule territory. So an important at-bat coming up right now with the bases full.
Felton went off speed, tried to come hard in this pitch, nicks the back leg of Davis. She knew it, took off right away. Even though it didn't deflect anywhere, it skimmed that back leg.
Here comes Amanda Hassler for Kenny Gajewski. She's been their top power hitter this year, 10 home runs since transferring over from NC State. She could leave the yard in a hurry. One swing of the bat could certainly change the game. In what has been domination so far by the Knights. But let's see what Hassler does. Bases full, 2 away.
This is one of those moments. If you're Felton, you're confident. You've been able to strike her out twice tonight. If you're Hassler, you have to know that you've seen everything that she's been able to throw, but you also can't press and chase out of the zone like she just did there for strike 1.
She has struck out twice. Has her 37 career home runs. 27 during her time with NC State. The former top 10 prospect. Trying to get her team back in this. Chopped foul. So that'll end up being strike 2. Felton has been clutch in the circle. 2 inning-ending strikeouts. 4 Ks on the night so far.
Impressive piece to me is Felton has shown her experience in this game. First inning, runners on, no big deal, 3 strikeouts. Runners on, Hassler up in the second inning, got her to strike out. The pressure of a moment has not gotten to Caitlin Felton so far in this game.
This one poked off of Jaimez, dives for the bag, not in time. And the Cowgirls get their 3rd run of the game. It's a 10-3 contest. Bases will still be loaded.
This an unfortunate break for Felton, not an extremely hard hit off the end of the bat. This is where the conversation needs to happen though. Jaimez needs to know that that's her ball. Griffin, on the other hand, that's not a ball you have to go for, because if Jaimez fields that on the ground, she can make the toss and retire Hassler. Gotta love the effort for the big play, but it's also, does that need to happen right there versus just being able to make the out?
Now the base is loaded for a player who's on the National Player of the Year watch list, Carly Godwin. Career .339 hitter, leading the team in doubles this season. Chops one over to third, Humphreys on to first, and the threat is over. Oklahoma State leaves the bases loaded. They do get one, but still trail by 7. We will talk to...
All I got asked to be part of today was going to some sauna workout, Hot Works workout with her and pitching coach Shannon Sale. I'm not sure what I would have done if she would have asked me to do a TikTok dance.
I was gonna say, when you were a pitching coach at Texas State, you didn't take part in the TikToks as Simon pops up?
You know, thankfully they weren't a thing. So no, I didn't have to do too much of that now. When I coach now with the girls that Cindy Ball Malone is coming out to recruit and watch, some of them try to get me to jump into their TikToks.
You do have a very young one. We'll see when she ends up playing softball, whatever university that may be. What's in style then? Because I'm sure you'll be doing that with her.
I'm sure she'll get, that one will be able to get me to do anything. She has mom wrapped around her finger.
You've met your match in her. I've already witnessed that. One away as we go back up to the top of the order, Aubrey Evans. She's reached 3 times, a grand slam, a walk. One time reached via an error as well. She's back in the first inning in her 2nd at bat in the first inning. A grand slam to absolutely break this game open. That made it 8-0 at that point.
Right out there, perfectly angled at the RV. Fans out there in left field. Everyone got fired up on that one.
So long ago, the sun was still out.
And now it's pitch black out there.
Inning alone was 45 minutes, but it was interesting to hear Cindy Ball Malone say, hey, listen, we just picked a song to dance to. We talked to her this week. You could just tell from speaking with her, she is, for the most part, always relaxed, never really gets rattled, never panics, and certainly didn't panic after last night's loss.
Well, I would describe Cindy Ball Malone as a player's coach. And not to the fact that she's a pushover or she just does whatever, you know, players want her to do. She has standards, she holds them accountable, but you watch her in her everyday life, the way she runs this program, the way she will post her TikToks, working out, whatever it is, she has a standard for herself and she lives that. But at the same time, she works really hard to make those connections. So that's where the TikTok dancing, and she's okay if she looks funny doing it. Like, she does not care if she's on her A game with a dance or not.
There's a free pass issued to Evans. She reaches for the 4th time. Well, our Week 4 UFL matchup features the St. Louis Battlehawks going up against the Arlington Renegades, both 2-1. Coverage starts Saturday at 12:30 Eastern on ABC. You mentioned Coach Ball Malone, or as she's known by pretty much everyone in the softball world, Coach Bear. It's a very intimidating nickname. I don't know how much that suits her. Not a scary coach at all by any means.
Well, when she said she didn't like it, I was like, why? Because while she can be intense when she needs to, I'm like, you're also kind of like a teddy bear. Like, you talk to her players and they all will talk about how much they love Coach Ball Malone, what she means to them. Obviously, she has 2 that have stayed on to be grad assistants, so that shows the relationship she has with athletes.
Do you have a nickname as a coach? Do the players have a nickname for you? One that they sent to your face?
No, I'm just Coach O, really. We shortened Osterman because it was easier to say. have one player that I don't know what started it. She called me Julio, and she still does. She'll text
Julio?
me. She'll text me. The funny part was every time she would say it, I would try to reply with, "Hey, amiga," and it would change in my phone to Smogs every time. And so now I call her Smogs.
I could see Gato for cat, but Julio, I'm at a loss.
I don't know. I don't even remember how it started, but she still will text me to this day, and it's on there. But
go with that, Julio Osterman.
Yeah. I've had teammates that have called me Gato, so that one's been in there.
Go 1-2 to Sierra Humphreys, nicknamed Cece for her. Sister KK played at Oregon. And her mom, by the way, was just an elite athlete at Arizona years ago, All-American, 3-time national champ. Krista Humphreys by Krista Gomez back then. That one scooped up nicely by Davis, and how about the double play by the Cowgirls?
The Cowgirls need something to be excited about, and this is it. An easy 4-6-3 with the scoop up by Davis. Oklahoma State has some work to do as they come to bat.
For the Longhorns rally, Texas was trailing 3-0 yesterday. They won on a Reese Atwood grand slam 7-3. But again, the Tigers evening that series today, and Oklahoma won earlier today as well.
Yeah, Oklahoma beat Mississippi State 4-0. Texas gonna look to get back into the winning series column tomorrow against LSU. If you want to tie Texas all into this, this is the most runs UCF has scored against a ranked team since they beat Texas 15-10.
Do I even want to ask you who you think is the best team in the nation right now, or is that obvious to you?
Honestly, no, it's not obvious. It's up in the air, and I think there are some days that you think you know, and then there are others where it's not as easy to decide. I think Tennessee is extremely strong, but obviously they're kind of similar to Oklahoma State, where they have Carlin Pickens, and they really have to figure out who can win other games instead of her. Texas offensively has it, but similar. Tegan Cavan.
Rachel Hathoot grounding out there. Beth Damon coming up.
So there's a lot of teams that while they might put up the offensive numbers or have a good pitcher, they're still trying to figure out how they can make that run in the postseason without wearing down one arm.
Excuse me, work up after Hathoot get out there. It's going to be interesting because you see teams looking impressive. A&M earning that #1 ranking after taking care of LSU last weekend, but A&M lost today. What was the score? 9-1?
9-1. They beat Missouri twice yesterday, but Missouri took game 3 of the series in run rule fashion. And obviously, OU still looks extremely strong.
Sam Landry, the ace in the circle for the Sooners, who may not have the strength of schedule as some of the other teams we've been mentioning, but still, they are the Sooners. About a week ago, I was trying to compare their numbers this year offensively in the circle and defensively to years past. There's a lot of people wondering, well, is this the year they take a dip? Their numbers really aren't that far off from what they've been doing in recent years.
They've really, I mean, they graduated that big class, and that was a very well-known class, the most decorated class to go through NCAA softball, at least in recent eras.
Work with the base knock.
But when you watch their games, their offensive production is similar. Their nuance for clutch home runs, clutch doubles, that's still there, and Jen Rocha is still working magic in the circle. As you mentioned, Sam Landry transferred over from Louisiana for 1 year and arguably one of the best arms in the game right now.
It's interesting to see all these ranked teams, a lot of their aces coming from the portal for Oklahoma State. Malin, obviously for Oklahoma. Sam Landry, for Nebraska. Jordy Ball That one popped up. Damon unable to hang on. Nyjah Kennedy for Texas Tech. Texas, one of the few teams not relying on the portal for their ace, Tegan Caban, but their number 2, Mac Morgan, did transfer over a few years before that from Arizona State.
Portal just allows so many athletes to find a new home. I'm interested to see how active it is after or moving forward now. So this year's junior class was the last class that could commit to college as an 8th grader. After that, the rule changed that no scholarship offers and commitments could be made till you were a junior in high school. And I think a lot of the transfers of that junior class came from the fact that their decision to where they were going to school happened so early in their career. And it wasn't necessarily a match, or it wasn't necessarily, you know, the same environment, whether a coach changed or just players changed from the time they committed to they actually stepped on campus.
Certainly a part of the game now. It's Tia Warsaw with a 1 away, waiting for the 1-2 from Felton. Check swing, scooped up, the toss to first. Jaimez, nice job just getting 1 with the scoop over to first for the 2nd out of the inning as work advanced.
Well, a key 2nd out, though, because Tia Warsaw has speed, so if the ball gets the outfield, she's able to get an extra 60 feet. Now, granted, Michaela Work running ahead of her, not as fast, so it would slow Tia Warsaw up a little bit, but nonetheless, not as much speed on the bases now with 2 outs.
The 2 teams will wrap up the series tomorrow. Again, it feels like a Saturday. Pretty much every series around the country due to Easter already playing their game 2 of most of those series here on a Friday, with the finale coming on Saturday. UCF trying to even up this series and beat Oklahoma State for the first time since 2009. Oklahoma State's offense, so far in a game and a half, they have left 15 on base. It's been a continuing storyline all season long for this offense.
Well, that just shows you how many opportunities you have and you're not able to cash in when you do have those runners in scoring position. If I'm on staff, I'm looking at those numbers right there and saying, okay, who's in those positions the most, and what's our thought process in those positions? Thought it was interesting. I called a game earlier this week in South Carolina and talking to their head coach, Ashley Chastain Woodard. She said their approach when runners are in scoring position are just singles. So they're not trying to take the big, she's like, it keeps our kids from taking the big swing, trying to feel like they have to leave the park and win a ball game. We just think about it, let's get a hard hit single. And it simplifies the mindset and allows the pressure to come off.
Again, Delgadillo trying to do just that. Oklahoma State 2 for 9 tonight with runners in scoring position. They're out hitting UCF 8-6, despite trailing by 7.
Well, the senior maturity of Felton has shown. She's been unfazed even when she's given up some runs. She just goes right back to work.
Chopped over to short. That one will get past Evans. She was shaded over towards third. Heading to second is the speedy Delgadillo. How about this? Oklahoma State with 2 in scoring position now with 2 away.
This was heads-up base running by Delgadillo, but not smart defense on the side of UCF. Delgadillo bounces this up the middle. Work is not incredibly fast. Kenny Gajewski's holding her up, but this throw, your cut has to be there. Griffin has to get over there. To be honest, Felton should be back behind the plate or at least in foul territory, but your cut has to be there to cut that so Delgadillo can't get herself in scoring position as well.
So they're down by 7, obviously trying to creep back in this one. But if this inning were to end and UCF was up by 8, the ball game would come to an end, a run rule victory. So they're trying to avoid being anywhere close to that happening with UCF. Coming up in the bottom half, here is Megan Bloodworth. We're going to run with a sac fly in the second, takes ball one. Having a career year. Felton well up over 100 pitches, 112. More strikeouts. There's a base knock to left, mishandled by Kotzelnick. That's going to bring in two. That's thrown away. And look at rounding the bases is Bloodworth. Holds up at third. Thought about going home, stays there. And it's a 10-5 game.
Bloodworth does a good job on a pitch up in the zone, and it goes dying right in front of Kotzelnick. The key here, though, is she's not under control. No, you're not going to catch that. Pull up and make sure you're able to keep that in front of you. But rushing the throw to second even, with the two runners scoring, had plenty of time to slow down and make a good throw. UCF giving Oklahoma State some momentum. They're opening that door for the Cowgirls right now.
It's an Oklahoma State offense that scored 10 runs a couple of games ago. It's Wichita State earlier this year, they scored 11. 11 runs in a game is their season high. They trailed 9-0 at one point, so within 5. UCF having a chat with Felton in the circle. Bloodworth over at third. New life for the Cowgirls.
There is definitely new life, but this goes back. Delgadillo getting second base because there was no cut on that throw from center field allowed her to be in scoring position. If that were a first and third situation, Delgadillo doesn't score, and then it's a different throw for Kotzelnick.
Here is Talon Edwards, who's reached 3 times tonight and 3 times last night. Oklahoma State has never come back from a 9-run deficit to win a game. The largest in program history is 7. They have the momentum right now. And now a 2-0 count. You wonder how much longer Felton will go. Pitch count is high. She's given up 10 hits.
We have to give it to her. Felton is competing. Still not extremely ineffective. She's not wasting a ton of pitches. And really her composure from pitch 1 to now we're looking at 116 hasn't changed, which we talked about it. The senior needed to lead this UCF team, and that maturity is showing.
Edwards has been a terrific hitter against UCF. Not only in this series, last year went 3 for 4 in a game against the Knights. Singled in the first, tripled in the second, and walked in the fourth. Two. A dribbler over to third. Humphreys is there. And the play made at first, but the Cowgirls chip it away at the deficit. They trailed by 9 earlier.
Like them to have come through a couple more times with runners in scoring position. They have been knocking on the door. But now it's time for UCF. If they're going to pull this one out, have to get focused for 2 more innings, not allow the free passes, and clean up the defense. We saw some errant throws in the last half inning that really allowed Oklahoma State extra bases.
And a pinch hitter, Kylie Strott, a sophomore, getting her first at bat for Cindy Ball Malone. Count 1 and 2. Kyra Aycock, impressive out of the bullpen. 0 earned runs allowed in 3 2/3. She has done her part.
Aycock, a pitcher that we didn't think we were going to have to see tonight. Figured it'd be Crandall and Coots, excuse me. But Aycock has come in and really held UCF at bay, only giving up 1 run.
This one dropped into shallow center field. Base knock for the pinch hitter, Kylie Strott. This is the longest appearance of the season for Kyra Aycock. Again, 3 2/3. On the year, she's only thrown just over 20 innings. Third different pitcher the Cowgirls have used tonight. Here is Ashley Griffin at the plate. A couple of walks and a single. UCF right now 2 games behind Oklahoma State in the standings and 3 games out of that 5th spot. Few games out of earning a potential bye the Big 12 tournament.
Both teams have the opportunity to build in that win column. They both still have to face off against Kansas, but UCF will face Houston, while Oklahoma State has Utah left to play too. Utah and Houston both in the bottom of the Big 12 right now.
Utah went to extra innings last night. BYU in a 14-13 game, and Aycock works her way back to a full count. She has a new catcher behind the dish, as well as Audrey Schneidmiller takes over defensively for the 2nd straight night. 2 aboard for UCF. Walks have been a problem for Oklahoma State tonight. 9 walks and multiple hit batters as well.
Kyra Aycock has been able to work around 2 walks, but both of those coming with, excuse me, one of them ended up being part of the double play. The other one left stranded. But here in the heart of the order, where UCF has been able to barrel the balls, you don't want to give them extra free opportunities.
Izzy Mertez at the plate. Talented freshman, 4-star prospect out of California, sends one up the middle. Sliding to stop it is Delgadillo. 1 run will come in, and it's back to a 6-run game. The playground kids continue to get it done at the plate.
Mertez takes this pitch over the heart of the plate and drives it right back up the middle. Stroud almost got hit by that pitch. She had to make sure it cleared her. But the slide by Delgadillo, that's huge. If that ball gets all the way to the fence, 2-run score. Mertez is probably at 2nd, so she keeps UCF from extending the lead too much with that slide. But again, base hit, sandwiched by a walk, allows UCF to have momentum and energy.
And the winning run is over at first. 2 more runs will end this ball game. Here comes Samantha Ray, one of the best hitters on the club. Singled in the 3rd inning, reached on an error in the 1st. Pinch runner, take it over at 3rd. Miles for the Knights. Mertez is over at 1st. $11 runs off 8 hits for the Knights. Runner on 1st. Mertez thought about going, got caught in a rundown. Here comes Miles, scores. And Mertez is thrown out going to 2nd. So that makes it 12-5, but the potential winning run gets thrown out.
UCF trying to see if they can sneak by Oklahoma State here. They do extend their lead, which is important because Oklahoma State is chipping away. So Mertez tries to deke going. She gets in the rundown here, but she's unable to get herself back. And that makes for a quick inning for Oklahoma State.
UCF keeping pace with the Cowgirls. Runs per game. They've already put up 12 so far. off of 8 hits. See how the Cowgirls respond here in the top of the 6th inning. Rosie Davis has reached 3 times, a single, a walk, and was hit in the 4th. And the Cowgirls offense hasn't been the main problem. Yes, they've left runners on base, but the defense has committed 2 errors leading to a ton of unearned runs. Pitching staff has issued 9 walks.
Well, when you start this game giving up 9 runs, that's a steep hill for your offense to have to climb. And don't get me wrong, Oklahoma State about halfway up from that 9 already, but you can't give that many free passes. I mean, the Knights scored 9 runs on just 3 hits. So you are allowing that lineup to turn over on your own accord.
Kenny Gajewski's squad felt they had turned the corner after a surprising series loss to Iowa State, who's having, by the way, one of the best seasons in program history. Oklahoma State, after that series, coaches only meeting for a number of hours. It got very emotional, according to Kenny Gajewski, but everybody felt better. Gajewski said, felt like the fun Kenny was back. As this one launched to deep left field and just foul off the bat of Rosie Davis.
Davis put a charge in that one, gave the dugout something to get loud about there for a split second, but that was about 4 or 5 feet to the left of that foul pole. Hit right off the top of that padding.
After that coaches only meeting, this offense put up 10 runs in 5 innings against Wichita State, 7 runs last night. 5 runs so far. They'll need a lot more as Davis deep, but dies down in the glove of Mertez. Here comes Audrey Schneidmiller, defensive replacement last inning. She was a defensive replacement last night, but this is what she did at the plate. Her first home run of the year, just the 3rd of her career. A 3-run jack, part of a 7-run 7th inning for the Cowgirls.
Cowgirls got some runners on. They had some errors and free passes issued by the Knights. Schneidmiller really able to cash in. Saw how much of her excitement there. She's put in defensive replacement, solid behind the plate. You see the 161 average. So pinch hits are few and far between, but she made the most of that one last night.
Was hit 133 before that, but came up with the biggest hit of the night. Felton, meanwhile, up to 125 pitches. 126 is a strike.
Well, my question now would be, with game 3 tomorrow and an earlier start, what is Felton gonna feel like? Is she going to be an option for them late in the game? This is a lot of pitches to put on her arm.
Has been one of the most durable arms in program history. Top 10 in innings pitched. More than 300. But as you said, quick turnaround for the finale of this series tomorrow. Three-two. UCF building momentum as we head towards the postseason. The RPI, they were 31 entering tonight. Oklahoma State was 18th. Oklahoma State started the season so well, won 15 of their first 19, beat 5 ranked teams. A number in the top 10, second half of the year, but a different story as Schneidmiller earns the walk.
Another quality at bat for Schneidmiller here in this series.
Certainly need base runners. They've had them. 15 base runners on for the Cowgirls, but 8 left on tonight, 8 last night. Here's Carly Godwin. Strike one. Godwin, who has now started 100 straight games, going back to last year.
Felton continuing to try to work around the plate, not so much over the white. Responded to get ahead of Godwin here. Starting to look like she's laboring just a little bit.
Felton's been so good for them throughout her career, especially this year when she tossed her 25th, the program's 25th no-hitter in UCF history, a win over Quinnipiac, just the 16th pitcher to ever toss one for the Knights. Solid so far this evening. The count now goes 3-1.
And here's where you see her drop ball, which she's been locating pretty well in the zone, starting to fall out of her hand a little bit. As a pitcher, your legs go first, so if they're not driving at the same intensity, your release point starts to change.
This one mashed into foul territory. Well, for Oklahoma State, they keep fighting, but it has to be pretty disheartening when every time you inch closer, UCF responds offensively.
And if you're Coach Bob Malone, you like to see the response, but yeah, Oklahoma State looking for a little bit of reprieve, saying, hey, give us an opportunity to claw back in this. Looking at their last 5 outs here.
Again, as hard as it is to believe when you look at the score, they have been out hitting UCF pretty much the entire night. There's a walk issued by Felton. Want to remind you, tomorrow afternoon on ABC, ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus, we'll have the NCAA Gymnastics Team Finals. Oklahoma, Utah, UCLA, and Mizzou compete for the national championship. It all starts at 4 p.m. Eastern. And again, in case you missed it earlier, check out that 4D replay action they will have tomorrow for the national championship. If you haven't watched that online, that 4D replay is utterly ridiculous. Can't wait to see it involved in softball as well.
You got me interested now, just with
trying to sell it.
4D camera. I'm interested in the possible.
That's all that matters. Just trying to entertain you.
Yeah.
Time is called. Felton back-to-back walks. You can tell she's laboring a bit. I mean, that pitch count's getting close to 140 now.
But yeah, you can see some of her pitches are just starting to fall off. She's getting deep in counts, unable to execute the money pitch when she needs it the most. Right now, Coach Ball Malone out there pumping her with a little confidence, I'm sure, talking her through it, letting her catch her breath, but also reminding her, you're my competitor. You're the one we want in this situation. Let's figure out how to get out of it.
Everybody's standing up in the bullpen. We'll see if anyone is needed. She's felt more than 300 innings thrown in her career. Just the 9th pitcher in UCF history to accomplish that. She'll stay out there. Two on, one away for the Cowgirls. Trailed 9-0 at one point, got as close as 5. Down by 7, here's Lexi McDonald. And there's a strike.
Yeah, you see that pitch cross Strout behind home plate. She was moving out. That was over the heart, almost middle in.
ahead 1-2.
But again, it's at this point, you have a 7-run lead. So knock on wood, if you don't want to give up a home run, it's not ideal. But if it happens, you still have a 4-run lead. So make sure you're working around the strike zone. The defense has been pretty solid in fielding behind her. A couple mental mistakes when pressure got on, but let your defense do their job.
Well, this is upstairs. UCF has lost 7 straight to Oklahoma State and has not beaten them since 2009. Over to third, on to second for 1. That's all they will get. Runners on the corners, now with 2 away.
That's a play by Humphreys at third. That ball leading her towards second base, so makes the lead throw.
Except for that last inning, the UCF defense has been pretty strong. 2 away now for Michaela Ward. A couple of singles for the redshirt junior.
And that's what I was kind of alluding to at Felton, especially Humphreys. The way she's playing right now, I would feed every ball that way and allow her and Evans to just eat it up, make a throw.
And that left side of the infield, it's been very good. This one dropped into right center field. Cowgirls with their 6th run of the night. They continue to fight. 12-6 ball game. Wark is 3 for 4. Runners on the corners again for another hot hitter now. Here comes Tia Warsaw, who has 2 hits. Most runs the Cowgirls have scored this year is 11. They'll obviously need to set a new season high to rally back in this one. Evans is there on to the bottom. Half of the 6th inning we go.
Getting behind in counts. UCF was starting to be able to barrel her up, but you gotta like the outing that the junior gave Oklahoma State tonight.
Coco Jaimez will lead things off with the Knights up by 6 for Oklahoma State. 12 runs are the most they've allowed this season. And they've also allowed a season-high 9 walks. Obviously been a big part of this deficit so far. For Riley Crandall, she had looked so good after dealing with an injury earlier this year. Sat for about a month. Since coming back from that, over the last 5 outings, as it'll look at Kyra Aycock's impressive numbers. For Riley Crandall, in her last 5 games, she hadn't allowed more than 1 earned run in any of those outings. But tonight, different story.
Tonight, a much different story. Her command, extremely uncharacteristic. Now we talk a little bit about the numbers being deceiving, but there was, you know, one number that isn't very high usually with Riley Crandall, and it's walks. It wasn't just walks, that she really was unable to command the strike zone, and that's very uncharacteristic of the junior.
Cindy Ball Malone settling down Coco Jaimez. And the question remains for Oklahoma State after Ruby Malin got the 1-hit shutout last night. I'm sure we will see her tomorrow. Field the third, no. Who is the next go-to pitcher on the staff? Still a question mark.
It is. It is for, really honestly, both teams. Obviously, Vega started and gave UCF a really good start yesterday. Is she going to be able to start tomorrow? I would think we'd see her today in a tighter situation if she were available. Haven't even seen her throwing in there. We saw Lopez and Macy Miles both warming up. It could be saving her though as well.
Chopped over to short. Bloodworth is there. Meanwhile, if you're Crandall, I mean, how difficult is it to come back into the game roughly 2.5 hours after you exited?
Well, to be honest, the time gap can almost make you think like you're starting 2 separate games. It's been that long, so you have time to sit down. If you want to reflect, if you want to just forget about it and move on, you have plenty of time to work on moving on and then as well warm up again. So if I'm Riley Crandall, I would have gone and tossed a little bit immediately the way they sent her to the bullpen. But then after that, would have taken some time just to observe the game, obviously be in it with your teammates. But when I got sent back out to the bullpen, I would have thought of it as, okay, this is a brand new ball game because enough time has passed.
Tough to stay focused when it's that long of a break?
Sometimes it can be, but when you know that you're able to re-enter, and there's a likelihood that you might, and you know that Oklahoma State staff is talking to her about that, then you have to mentally stay checked into the fact that you're going to have to go compete. You can't just check out of competition mode.
Oklahoma State in danger of falling to 7-8 in Big 12 play. Well, the Knights trying to move to 7-10. Two and two the count.
And this rise ball that Riley Crandall is trying to use, it's just going way too up out of her hand. You can see her stiff finish, and that ball's never close to the zone to entice UCF to chase it.
It's a foul ball. Crandall was so good last year for Baylor, going 17-9, top 10 in the Big 12 in strikeouts and wins. I mean, she shut out this UCF squad a year ago, complete game shutout.
Well, and that's the potential, that's the talent that Oklahoma State saw when they grabbed her from the portal.
And hauled in by Godwin, 2 away.
As we mentioned, there's been some knee injuries knee pain that she wasn't telling the staff about, trying to pitch through, and so they did have to shut her down for a little bit and even change her mechanics just a bit so that way she can pitch even if it's still bothering her. But Riley Crandall has the makings to be that elusive second arm right now for Oklahoma State. There comes a point in time as a pitcher you have to flip that switch and just kind of go into straight, I don't want to say not care mode, but you just go compete, and if they hit it, they hit it, and if they don't, great.
Speaking of hitting it, Aubrey Evans has done that tonight. If there's an MVP of this game, she's a prime candidate. She has reached for the 5th time tonight. What a performance by the junior. Moved up to the leadoff spot tonight after they were shut out last night, and she has delivered.
Exactly why Coach Ball Malone probably moved her to that leadoff spot is just the spark plug, the energy she gives. She led off the game with a walk. We saw the grand slam, forced an error, but Coach Ball Malone needed something else at the top to give her team some life, and Aubrey Evans has been that tonight.
And now moves into scoring position. That one bouncing away from Schneidmiller. An impressive response by UCF tonight after managing 1 hit on offense last night and just 4 base runners.
And the trick was just making them dance.
Took the words out of my mouth. Cindy Ball Malone told us, I said, what was the big pregame speech? What was the rah-rah moment? She said, didn't say anything. We danced. She said our team was dying to dance. And that loosened everybody up.
Yeah, Rise ball by Crandall. Got a little bit of a check swing out of Humphreys. Held down to third base and got the call.
1-2 with 1 on, 2 away. Here for Sierra Humphreys. Count evened up. 12 runs off 9 hits, 1 error for UCF. For the Cowgirls, 6 runs off 11 hits. But a couple of miscues in the field. This one sent to right at Warsaw. And here we go. The Cowgirls down to their last 3 outs of the night, as UCF trying to even up this series at 1. And Kat, I think the key has been her pregame ritual. She said it's ever since her freshman year. She puts on her socks and then immediately puts the right sock on the left foot and vice versa. And that's when she feels like she's ready to go. Did you have any such superstitions?
Not really. I always got made fun of though, because most people put their socks on first and then their pants. And I put my pants on first and then my socks, because I don't really care about folding my pants into my socks. But
I don't think it mattered if you went barefoot. You were the dominant.
there were not a whole lot of incredible superstitions. There were some that like lasted for, you know, a couple weeks, and that was it.
Made fun of by your teammates, or?
Yeah. Oh, always. They found every reason to pick on me, which was fine. I could deal with it.
Seemed like it. You're built for that. Big skin and thick skin for UCF. I mean, they could have cowered after managing 1 hit last night. Getting shut out. Offense really struggled, and they just flushed it from the memory banks immediately and showed up big time with one of the highest scoring innings in program history, 9 in the first.
When you have a young team, the flushing it mentality is almost easier to do because the expectations aren't so high. When you have a veteran-laden team, a lot of times there's expectations that they've already set based on their success as a class or a group. So Coach Bob Malone, group that could just delete that, move on. That big out right there by Felton to retire Delgadillo.
Here comes Megan Bloodworth, and pitch number 150 on the night for the senior Caton Felton. Grew up a couple hours away from here in Valrico, outside of Tampa. Recently became the 9th player in program history to eclipse 300 career innings. Gonna go down as one of the best to ever put on a Knights uniform. He's pitching a gem this evening.
Well, I really like when you can see zoomed in on Felton, and right before the first pitch to Bloodworth, she did it. She didn't on the second, but she was talking to herself. You could tell she was telling herself whether it's let's go or execute the pitch, but she was giving herself a little talk. But gotta love the tempo she pitches with. And Coach Bear pointed it out. She connects with her infield. She says let's go. She keeps in tune with them. And her routine to stay out in the back of the circle until she's ready to approach the mound. It's just a veteran pitcher showing what it takes to stay in a ball game. And let's be real, as a senior pitcher right now, she's not happy there's 6 runs on that board, but she's doing what it takes to stay in the ball game and compete for her team.
She has still pitched well, and listen, when your offense is putting up 12 runs, that means she's getting extended breaks sitting there while that offense goes to work. Is that something that helps her, considering she's throwing a ton of pitches, or is that a little bit tougher to deal with?
A lot of times it can help you because you'll sit and the rest of your team will be up on their feet, dancing, singing. But if you're a pitcher, you should be sitting, taking pressure off your feet, so that way your legs don't tire a little bit more. But as long as you can keep that arm loose, a good delay is good for you. And if you need to, you don't even have to go pitch full pitch 100%. Just go put your arm in a circle so that way it stays loose if the inning gets too long.
4 strikeouts, 4 walks, 6 runs allowed. And 1 out away from the complete game win.
Well, this is a big strikeout of Bloodworth by Felton. She goes up in the zone. Haven't seen her do that a ton, especially with the swing and miss. But Alex, that's just her first strikeout since the second inning.
Couldn't have come at a better time. It'll be up to Talon Edwards to keep the game going for the Cowgirls. If the score stands tomorrow, UCF will be looking for their first series win at home against a ranked team in program history.
Oh.
This would be their 5th win of the year against a ranked team. 1-1 to Edwards.
Well, Edwards didn't like that call. Thought it was a little bit up in the zone.
Felton 1 strike away from win number 11 on the season. And an upset of the 22nd ranked Oklahoma State Cowgirls.
Felton came into the top of the 7th here with a little bit more fire than she had. We saw her starting to look a little fatigued in the 6th, but came out here in the 7th with some fire and some energy. Really controlling these at-bats against Oklahoma State here.
She's going to sleep well tonight after throwing almost 160 pitches.
Her right arm is probably going to twitch in the middle of the night with how tired it's going to be.
Let's see if 159 is the last. Well, there will be at least one more.
There are no lie nights that after a long outing, the arm
it's just moving on.
It keeps pitching, I guess.
Payoff pitch with 2 outs here in the 7th. Coming up to Talon Edwards. Over to second. Jaimez is there, and the ball game is over. UCF has upset number 22 Oklahoma State by a final of 12-6.
Well, we said Caitlin Felton was going to have to lead this Knights team. She set the tone early. The Knights followed suit, and she absolutely slams the door against Oklahoma State.
UCF beats the Cowgirls for the first time in 16 years and just the 3rd time in program history. For Kat Osterman, I'm Alex Loeb. Thanks so much for watching. Let's send you out now for Cal Poly, UC Santa Barbara Baseball with Chris Sylvester.